Hey, Troy here with Big BB. I just want to take a moment and come on here and basically talk about what happened last night. I went and attended a civilian response to a mass shooter class. It was about 2 hours long, and it was provided by the Department of Homeland Security. So, first impressions, it's a good class if you've never taken a class like that before. They did get into some of the basic fundamentals of what you should do in a active shooter event. They did hit home the ADD, which is your avoid, deny, defend. Or if you follow another set of instructions, it's run, hide, fight. Right? You learn all that stuff in the counter to the mass shooter class that I provide as well. The only difference is in a 2-hour class, you spend about 45 minutes on that point alone. That is not all that needs to happen during an active shooter event. Are they important? Absolutely important. But it's not everything, right? Couple of things that did bother me about it last night, and I'll go into those a little bit. One is they don't recognize. She didn't know who USCCA is. She didn't know where my certification and my credentials came from. USCCA, if you don't know, is one of two places you could get certified that this state even recognizes as instructors for concealed carry. The other one being NRA. So the fact that she didn't even know that is one of the largest insurance companies for concealed carriers, and two, one of only two certifications you could get that this state would even recognize. Being a concealed carrier herself, she said, I didn't ask her to prove it or anything, but she said she was. But if you're a concealed carrier and you never heard of USCCA, you might want to get out more. They are a very good gun organization as far as concealed carry insurance, classes that they provide, the instruction, content, stuff like that. And we got to talking as well, and one of the things she brought up is, do you charge for your classes? Well, I charge for some of my classes, but not for this one. And why is that? Well, because I have skin in the game, right? I'm from here. My kids go to school here. My friends go to these churches. This is my community. I have skin in the game. So no, I do not charge to keep my own community safe. She said she doesn't charge either. The DHS comes out here, provides these classes for free. I said, well, that's good. You should, because you are a federal agency and paid by our tax dollars anyway. I spent a lot of money getting my certifications and my credentials. I spent a lot of time learning my content. So I do charge for some classes. The counter to the mass shooter threat, I do not charge for. Alright, so keep that in mind. Nothing has changed about that. I think I even put that on months ago on my site. Still stands true today. Alright, I do not charge for it because I have skin in the game here. If you know anyone at churches and stuff like that, I actually prefer to do my classes at your location. Why? Because I can help you better there, because every place is different. Every place is set up different. So if I'm in the place where you're actually going to be, that would actually mean more to you. You'll get more out of it when we go through this. Alright? The other thing is, my classes are a minimum of 6 hours long. We don't spend 45 minutes on ADD and run, hide, fight. They are important, and I will beat them to death. But they're not everything. Because we also go over first aid. We also go over how to identify people with problems. You're not going to be able to identify them all, I'll tell you that right now. But it's good to at least know where some issues may arise, and in the past, it's already been documented that there have been issues, they have been identified, and they were ignored. And then a catastrophic event happens. Hindsight's always 20/20, right? So we teach that as well. So I got skin in the game. So that's why I don't charge here. All right? So if you're a local church or something and you want to set something up like this, by all means, give me a call. We'll set something up, something that's good for you. You can invite as many people as you want. Invite your whole congregation. I don't care. This is my community too. You're all my neighbors. You're all my friends. I want to keep you safe. The other thing that bothered me about her class is one of the things she said is if you can get on a wall when somebody enters a door with a gun, grab the gun. Grab the gun and do not let go. That is some bad advice. And here is why, right? When you grab that gun, you would better be prepared to take some decisive action. Just grabbing the gun and holding on is not decisive action. And here's why. This is a plastic AR, right? So this is a trainer that I use. If I'm going in somewhere, I have two hands on this thing. I have all the leverage. Most people that grab for a gun will grab right here. One, you have no leverage. I have it all. Two, all I gotta do is shoot a couple rounds. That barrel's gonna heat up. You're going to let go. Three, all I gotta do to get your hand off there, and we've actually taught this in the Marine Corps, because people do this. They'll grab your gun when you're clearing a house. They'll grab your gun. All you gotta do is make a circle. Their hand is off. You can't help it because you just kind of break their thumb grip. All right? So my recommendation is if you're going to grab a gun, don't just grab and hold on like she said. Take some decisive action. Either be prepared to pull or push back into that guy. Get him off balance any way you can. If you pull it, just be aware that the guy holding this probably doesn't care for safety, which means his finger's probably going to be on the trigger, so when you pull this, it's going off. All right? So just be aware of those things. Like I said, that was probably the worst advice that she gave that night. If it's a pistol, let me go ahead and clear this because we treat every gun as if it were safe. Right? If it's a pistol and you grab this, as soon as I pull this trigger, what happens, the cycle of operations, that round goes off, the blowback gases, send this to the rear, eject the brass, send this back to the front, and chambers a new one. All in a split second. If you grab this and he pulls that trigger, that gun's going to let you know really quick that that was a bad idea. Alright, so those are two things that bothered me. Alright, but like I said, I'm not trying to talk smack about it. For if you never taken a class before, it's a good starter. She did get a question from someone in the audience last night. It was about a concealed carrier being able to address the threat. As a concealed carrier, you're under no obligation to address the threat, but you're also under no obligation to de-escalate the situation if you have to use it in defense of yourself. Just remember, you're responsible for every bit of damage from the end of your muzzle that comes out of there, all right? So if you hit a bystander, you're responsible for that. Any damage that you cause. We are not police. Our job isn't to do this. So our standards of being charged for criminal liability and stuff like that, civil liabilities, it's much higher. So just remember that. Under no circumstances are we talking about going in like John Wayne. I tell people all the time, this is not the movies, this is real life. Alright? Things do not happen in real life like they happen in your head. Some people need to get over that. Some people have never been put in a situation to actually see that play out in real life. And I tell you what, combat was a real testament to things not going as planned. Alright? It makes you think, it makes you train harder, and it makes you really understand Murphy's Law. Okay? But, moving on, if any of my local churches or something like that did want to set something up, again, you're going to have at least a minimum of 6 hours instruction time. Alright? I want to do it at your place because we can do a walkthrough and I can show you exactly what we're talking about in the instruction. And actually, I think in my instruction, I have created some stop points where we actually do practical application. Alright? So I actually have you get up and do stuff. So that way you're not just sitting in a class there to earn a certificate. You are actually doing something. We go over your EOPs, which is your emergency operation plans. Alright? What I do not do is I do not tell you how your emergency operation plan should look. That's not my job. That's for you. I don't dictate what you do in your own place. That is not my job. What I do is I give you the information on how to properly fill out an emergency operation plan. And again, you have to train to that plan. You have to do drills. You have to see what works. You have to see what doesn't. Then you have to modify the plan. It's a living, breathing document, and it should always be tested and updated as necessary. All right? So those are a couple things that you get in my class. And like I said, emergency first aid, you get some of that. This is not a CPR class. What this is a traumatic event class. All right? You're waiting on first responders to arrive. Why? Why can't I already have first aid stations set around with whatever I need for gunshot wounds or whatever trauma happens, right? We focus on the cardiac events and the, in case of a heart attack and teach you CPR and stuff like that. That's great. That doesn't stop the bleeding, and that's what you really need to focus on in an active shooter event. One of the things that we stress, and one of the things that she said in her class, so we're both in agreement on this, law enforcement takes their time to get there. The national average, she said 3 minutes. I think that's kind of outdated because it's 4 minutes now. But that's until the police arrive. We've already seen how they're more than content to just stand outside while everything is happening inside. And I believe it was Columbine. They showed up at like 7 minutes after the shooting started, but they didn't enter the building 45 minutes. Fast forward to 22, 23 years later, Uvalde, they did the same thing, right? We didn't learn a thing. She said police are now trained to enter the building and stop the killing. That's great. What happened in Texas? It didn't happen, all right? Your time with an active shooter event, the time that goes on, right? That honestly depends on the arrival of a second gun. And we hear this all the time. The only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is with the good guy with the gun, right? So instead of waiting minutes, precious minutes, to get the police there to stop the bad guy, what if you had people that were concealed carrying at the event? How many less lives would be lost? Now, we're not advocating you going after them or John Wayning them, but we are advocating good guys with the guns already being on the premises to hopefully lessen the loss of life. Is the loss of life still going to happen? Absolutely, because this guy is going to come in blaring. He's going to come in shooting. He doesn't care. These dudes do not care. I cannot stress that enough. When the people that start this stuff start, they have every intention of not surviving. So they do not care. You care, which is why you should care about your survival and your safety. You need to protect yourself. You need to protect others. Whether that comes in the form of enforcing your emergency operation plan, getting to a safe spot, running away, hiding, seeking cover, whatever it is. self-preservation and preservation of others in an active shooter event, denying him access, denying that person access, that's all going to lessen the impact, all right? And like I said, this is a 6-hour course, so I'm just wave topping right now, just waves. So if you or someone you know wants to actually get a good course, wants to sit down and, no kidding, make your establishment, your church, or your school a safer place, let me know. I will come there. I will set my stuff up. You will get a period of instruction. Hopefully you will walk away with this with a lot more tools in your toolbox to help make your entire facility safer, to make your people safer. And like I said, this doesn't just have to include the heads of the church or the heads of the school. This could be everybody on the staff. It could include the entire congregation. It could include the kids. In an active shooter event, everyone is now a participant, whether you like it or not. That active shooter just forced you into it, all right? We could go through and we could look at other points of egress. We could look at how to facilitate denial of entry. We could look at a lot of stuff, all right? And like I said, for the DHS class, nothing on her, but like she said, she doesn't get out of her box. She doesn't get out. She had no idea who USCCA is. So, with that being said, once again, I've got skin in the game. My family's from here. My kids go to school here. My friends are here. Contact me if you're really, really, really serious and you want to make your place safer, okay? This is exactly why I went and got my credentials. This is exactly why I went and got my certification. This is exactly why I went and learned all this material. Not for me, because I'm giving it to you for free. You have nothing to lose to call me, but for you and for our community, okay? So with that all being said, stay safe, shoot straight, Big BB out.